Do you have a data set and you want to get the sum of cells based on a partial text match? This can easily be done using a wildcard character in SUMIF or SUMIFS function. Let me show you how it works. Here I have this data set where I have these names in column A and their sales in column B. And I want to only get the sum of sales for those people who have the country as US after their name. So in this case, it's a case of partial match where I need to first check each cell and see whether the country is US or not, and only then add their sales. So I'm going to use a SUMIF function to do this. Now the SUMIF function takes 3 arguments. The first one is the range, which is the criteria range. So I'm going to select these cells that have the name. Then the second argument is the criteria. And in this case, my criteria is going to be asterisk US. And what this does is an asterisk is a wildcard character that represents any number of characters in a formula. So in this case, when I use this as a criteria, it is going to check these cells. And if the cell has US in the end, then this would meet the criteria, because an asterisk could be any name. It could be blank. It could be any name, any string. And then my sum range is going to be these cells. And now when I hit enter, it gives me this result, which is only the sum of those names that have US in the end. In the previous example, I showed you how to sum cells where there's a partial text match at the end of the cell. In this case, what I'm going to do is show you when the partial text match is in the beginning. So here I have these names and I have a country name followed by the name of the person, and then I have their sales values, and I only want to get the sum of those people where the country is US, and that is at the beginning of the cell. So here again, I'm going to use the SUMIF function. This is going to be my criteria range. Then my criteria here is going to be US followed by asterisk sign, and this is going to be in double quotes. So your criteria is going to be in double quotes, and here I have US followed by asterisk, which means that my cell can have anything after US, but it should always begin with the string US, and it can have any number of characters. It could be blank, it could be any name. And then my sum range is going to be these values. And now when I hit enter, it gives me this result. And here it has only added those values where the country is US and it is in the beginning of the cell. Another variation of partial matches where I have a string in the beginning and a string in the end. So in this case, I have these names and I have the country name in the beginning, and I have this category A, B, or C at the end of the string in the cell. And I want to add only those cells where the country is US and the category or this alphabet is A. So again, I can use the SUMIF function with a slightly different criteria. So I would use SUMIF, and here my range is going to be this, and my criteria is going to be US and then asterisk and then A. Now this means that whatever cell you're analyzing, the formula is analyzing, it should start with US and it should end with A, and it can have anything in between. It could be the name, it could be blank, it could be anything. So this is my criteria, and my sum range is this, which has the values. So it is going to only add the sum of those values that are satisfied with this criteria. So only those cells that have US in the beginning and A in the end would be added. So now I hit enter, and this is the value. This is the sum of all those cells where the country is US and the alphabet here is A. Here is another variation where I want to add all the sales values for cells where the country is US, but it could be in the beginning or in the end or anywhere in the cell. I don't know where it is. So what I'm going to do is again use the SUMIF function with slightly different criteria. So here my range is going to be, it needs to be SUMIF. And my range is going to be these cells, and my criteria in this case is going to be asterisk US asterisk, which means that there could be any number of characters before US, there could be any number of characters after US, as long as it has the string US in the cell, it would satisfy the criteria. And now this is my sum range, and when I hit enter, it gives me the result where anywhere if the term US comes in the cell, it would be considered, and then the value for that name is going to be added by the SUMIF function. So far I've shown you examples where there was only one criteria, but what if you have multiple criteria? For example, let's say I want to get the sales value and get the sum of sales value for all the cells where the country is US and the category is A. So now I have two criterias in two different columns. In this case, I can use the SUMIFS function. So SUMIFS function allows me to have multiple criterias within the same formula. So I can have two criterias and then get the sum based on it. So in SUMIFS function, the first argument is the sum range, which is the cells that has the value. So you need to select the sales column for this. Now I need to give the first criteria range. My first criteria is that the name should have the country as US. So this becomes my criteria range. And then I need to specify the criteria, which in this case would be asterisk US, because the country is at the end of it. If the country could be anywhere, you can also use asterisk US asterisk. But in this case, I would stick with asterisk and then US, which means that the country is going to be after the name at the end of the content in the cell. And we'll put it in double quotes. So this becomes my criteria 1. Then I would have the second criteria, which is going to be the category, which is this. And I want my criteria 2 to be A. So I would just put A in double quotes. And now when I hit enter, it gives me this value where all those cells that have the country as US and the category as A have been added. And this is given by the SUMIFS function result. And the final example I want to show you is not very common, but it can happen to you. So it's good to know. Here I have these names and you can see there is an asterisk at the end of the name. Now, what if I want to add the sales of all those names where there is an asterisk? Now, the problem here is that Excel already knows that an asterisk symbol is a wildcard character. So I cannot really just use asterisk as one of the criteria, because then it would be considered as any number of characters and it is not going to work. So here's a small trick that works. I'm going to use the SUMIF function. This is my range that has the criteria. Then I need to specify the criteria. And in this case, my criteria is going to be asterisk, then tilde, asterisk. And when I do that, what it does is the first asterisk is going to be any number of characters, just like regular asterisk wildcard character. But the second asterisk after the tilde would be considered as is, which means that when I have a tilde before a wildcard character, which could be asterisk, which could be question mark, what it does is it considers that as the character itself. So it is going to look for asterisk symbol and not consider it as a wildcard character that represents any number of characters. So I have the first asterisk that acts as a wildcard character, and the second asterisk is after the tilde character, which acts as one single character. That's it. So now this becomes my criteria, and now my sum range is going to be this. And now when I hit enter, it gives me this value, which is only the sum of sales of those names where there is an asterisk character. So if you are dealing with wildcard characters and you have to count or sum the wildcard character itself, then you can use a tilde before that wildcard character, just I've used here. So these are a couple of examples where I've shown you how to get the sum of cells where you need to have a partial match. So you can use SUMIF along with the wildcard character. That's it in this video. I hope you found this useful. Also, if you are liking these videos, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you never miss out on any new Excel tips video I come up with. Also, if you have any questions or thoughts, do let me know in the comment section. Have a good day.